This trip began on the outskirts of Albany, Georgia, an area that had quietly turned into a disaster zone. What once were healthy farmlands were now torn apart. Deep trenches scarred the soil. Crops lay destroyed. The reason was clear. Wild pigs had overrun the region, reproducing faster than anyone could contain them. Every night, herds poured out from the forests near the Flint River Basin. They moved without fear, digging, feeding, and destroying everything in their path. Local farmers were desperate. Complaints had piled up, so we came prepared, not for sport, but for control. There was no time to waste. We checked our equipment carefully. Rifles ready. Infrared scopes calibrated. Positions assigned. The plan was to sweep the open fields bordering the forest, cutting off escape routes and eliminating as many targets as possible before dawn. At exactly 9 p.m., we took position in a large open field. The night felt unnaturally still, but through the infrared scope, the truth revealed itself. Heat signatures appeared one by one. Heads low, tusks tearing into the soil. The first wild pigs were already feeding, completely unaware they were being watched. We moved into ambush. Every second felt stretched, hearts pounding, fingers resting lightly on triggers. As the herd moved closer, the tension became unbearable. Then the moment arrived. The first shot shattered the silence. A wild boar dropped instantly. Panic erupted. Dirt flew as the herd scattered in every direction. But escape had already been anticipated. Another teammate was positioned ahead, lying motionless in the darkness. Within moments, another fleeing boar ran straight into his line of fire and collapsed. The field went quiet again, but only briefly. Around 10 p.m., movement returned near the forest edge. Bushes shook. Low grunts echoed. Two separate groups emerged, attempting to cross the clearing from opposite sides. Among them was a larger, more aggressive boar. Clearly the leader. The decision was immediate. Gunshots ripped through the night. The leader dropped on the spot. The others turned back toward the trees, but accurate fire from both flanks sealed their fate. One after another fell before reaching cover. Then something else appeared. A massive silhouette moved slowly into view. Thick shoulders. Heavy build. This boar had survived before. It carried itself differently. Cautious. Experienced. Dangerous. The scope settled. Breathing slowed. One precise shot ended it instantly. Even the smaller pigs nearby were taken down. In regions like this, letting one escape means future destruction and greater danger for people and farms alike. By 1 a.m., we repositioned near a grassy clearing. Suddenly, the sound hit us, loud digging, dangerously close, less than 40 meters away. No hesitation. The shot was clean, a perfect head strike. The night was far from over, and the hunt was only getting more intense. As the hours slipped past midnight, the hunt only intensified. The fields that seemed empty minutes earlier began to come alive again. Wild boars were everywhere, emerging cautiously at first, then in growing numbers, driven by hunger and overpopulation. This wasn't random movement. It was a pattern. Every night, the same routes, the same feeding grounds. We adjusted our strategy. Instead of chasing blindly, we focused on interception. Tracking the fleeing boars wasn't easy. Their speed was deceptive, their endurance impressive. Even wounded, they could cover frightening distances in seconds. But Patience and positioning made the difference. One by one, opportunities appeared, brief openings in the darkness where hesitation meant failure. Shots rang out again. Each successful takedown reduced the pressure on the land. These animals reproduced at an alarming rate, and leaving even a few behind meant the cycle of destruction would continue. That knowledge pushed us forward despite the fatigue slowly setting in. By now, the night air felt heavy, the smell of disturbed soil mixed with gunpowder. Infrared scopes glowed constantly as new heat signatures appeared across the field. The number of wild boars increased instead of decreasing. Entire groups poured out together, careless, confident, driven by instinct. They were wrong. We held our ground. As soon as the first boar crossed into range, controlled fire erupted. Panic spread instantly. The herd scattered in chaos, crashing through grass and brush, desperately searching for an escape that no longer existed. Every direction was covered, every movement anticipated. Gunfire echoed steadily through the night. One boar charged blindly, attempting to break through the line. It never made it. Another followed seconds later. Same result. The field slowly fell silent again, broken only by distant movement and heavy breathing. By around 3 a.m., the numbers finally began to thin. Fewer silhouettes appeared through the scope. The survivors had grown cautious, retreating deeper into cover. But we didn't stop. We searched methodically, sweeping the area, ensuring no group slipped away unnoticed. Exhaustion crept in quietly. Arms felt heavier. Focus demanded more effort. Yet no one spoke of stopping. Every fallen boar meant fewer destroyed crops, fewer dangerous encounters, fewer losses for people living here. As dawn approached, the gunfire slowed. The field that had been alive with movement hours earlier now lay still. Broken ground told the story of the night's chaos. One final scan confirmed what we already felt. The operation had been brutally effective. At around 4 a.m., with bodies aching and energy drained, the decision was made to end the hunt. The results spoke for themselves. But this was not the end, because another land, another warning, and an even harsher battlefield awaited us. Snow, mountains, and a new outbreak beyond control. Where the mountain stood frozen under a thick blanket of snow, the forest was silent, almost lifeless, but that silence was deceptive. The locals had been living in fear for months. Wild boars had multiplied beyond control, tearing through crops, damaging property, and roaming dangerously close to villages. Every night brought new destruction. Every morning revealed fresh tracks in the snow. This was no ordinary hunt. The local Hunters Association had organized a large-scale operation, calling in experienced teams to contain the outbreak before it escalated further. We joined them at dawn, equipped with rifles, optics, and a pack of well-trained hunting dogs, our most valuable allies in this terrain. The cold cut deep. Each breath burned our lungs as we followed narrow snow-covered trails into the mountains. Visibility was limited. Sound carried farther than expected. Every footstep had to be measured. It didn't take long before the dogs reacted, barking sharply, breaking the stillness. Targets spotted. A herd had been feeding nearby. Unaware they were already surrounded. The first shot shattered the calm. The lead boar dropped instantly, collapsing into the snow without taking a single step. Panic erupted. The rest of the herd scattered in all directions, slipping and sliding down the icy slope. We moved fast, scopes locked onto moving shadows. Shots rang out in quick succession. 3 more wild boars fell before the survivors could disappear into the trees. Applause echoed briefly, not celebration, but relief. Fewer threats meant safer nights for villagers. But the hunt was far from over. The remaining boars fled toward higher ground. We split into smaller units and pursued them across steep, slippery hillsides. The snow slowed us down, draining energy with every step. Ice hid beneath the surface, turning each movement into a calculated risk. Then it happened. The herd reappeared on the opposite slope, nearly 400 meters away, too far for a clean ambush. With no other choice, we took long-range positions. Rifles steadied, breathing slowed. On command, the hillside erupted with gunfire. Some targets dropped, others escaped. We didn't stop. Fresh tracks led us deeper into the mountains where signs pointed to another large group hiding near dense cover. This time we changed tactics. No rushing, no wide firing, precision only. We set an ambush. Minutes stretched into silence. Then movement. Dark shapes emerged cautiously from the trees, convinced they were safe. That mistake cost them everything. The order was given. Controlled shots. 1 boar fell instantly. The others froze, confusion buying us precious seconds. More shots. More bodies in the snow. The survivors finally realized the danger and broke formation, fleeing blindly. By then, it was too late. One by one, they were intercepted and taken down. Exhaustion hit hard. Muscles screamed. Fingers numbed. Yet before we could rest, another herd appeared near the mountainside, drawn by disturbed ground and leftover feed. There was no hesitation. From concealed positions, we opened fire again. Clean shots. Efficient movement. The herd was wiped out within moments. As daylight faded, we began to return toward the rest point. That's when a final opportunity presented itself. Massive black silhouettes crossed our path, the last survivors attempting to escape under cover of dusk. They didn't make it. 1 shot, 1 kill, again and again. By the time silence returned to mountains, the snow was marked with the evidence of a brutal but necessary operation. We regrouped, scanning the terrain one final time. No movement, no heat signatures. The threat had been neutralized. As we descended back toward the village, word spread quickly. Farmers stepped outside. Families watched from doorways. For the first time in months, they could breathe easily. The wild boar population had been pushed back. The land had a chance to recover. And for tonight, the mountains would finally rest.